Question number 4, Metiria Turei.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Tēnā koutou katoa. My question is to the Prime Minister and asks, does he stand by his reported statement that, quote, he was proud of the government's record in tackling child poverty, end quote?
Right, Honourable
Mr.
Prime
Speaker.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yes.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Metiria Turei.
Thank you. Is the Prime Minister proud of his tax policies in light of UNICEF's finding today that his tax cuts for high earners achieved nothing for New Zealand kids in poverty, while cash payments to poor families in Australia during the global financial crisis helped to reduce child poverty by 30% while also stimulating the economy?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
I think the member's assessment of the report is actually incorrect. If you look at Australia, the reason that their child poverty rates have reduced by 6% is because they've actually had a strong economy. I think it's implausible actually to claim that a one-off $900 stimulus payment made in one particular year would actually have an impact on child poverty rates when it was paid after when some of those rates were being measured. So I think the member's reading of the report is quite incorrect.
Okay.
Supplementary question, Metiria Turei.
Why did the Prime Minister cut taxes for the wealthy during the depths of the global financial crisis, yet did nothing to improve the outcomes?
Order. The member has a right to ask the question so it can be heard. Would the member please start? Order. Would the member please start the question again?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Why did the Prime Minister cut taxes for the wealthy during the depths of the global financial crisis, yet did nothing to improve the outcomes for New Zealand's poorest children, something that 18 other OECD countries managed to do despite being hit harder by the crisis than New Zealand?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, rather than the member actually criticising the government's tax program, which I think has at least been one contributing factor to a strong economy, she should of course be congratulating the government because it is that stronger economy that's seen child poverty rates reduce. It's that strong economy and a continuation of a strong economy that will lift more children out of poverty. And actually, this government has done a lot when it comes to making sure the most needy children get support. And that includes borrowing through the financial crisis for working for families, for accommodation supplements, for interest rates relief. That includes expanding the food and schools program.
Order. As Metiria Turei had a right to have a question heard in reasonable silence, so the Prime Minister has a right to answer the question, again without the uproar I was experiencing from my left. Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, and that's included a wide range of things from insulation of homes. Mr Speaker, a strong economy is the number one way to lift youngsters out of poverty. The government is exploring a range of different measures that can also potentially implement to help those in the most severe form of material deprivation. But in the end, a strong economy is the thing that will help the most number of New Zealand children.
Order. Supplementary question, Metiria Turei.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Is the Prime Minister disputing the findings from UNICEF's international report comparing OECD countries and how they managed with child poverty rates over the global financial crisis, and which clearly describes New Zealand's child poverty rates as stagnating under his watch as a direct result of his failure to invest in children, including serious criticisms of his tax cut regime to the very wealthy? Does he dispute UNICEF's findings?
Speaker.
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, what I dispute is the member's analysis. Mr Speaker, what the report quite clearly shows actually is that child poverty rates reduced under this government. Yes, not as fast a rate as we would like, but this country was much more... Well, listen, no one wanted to listen to you during the campaign. I can't see why they want to listen to you now.
Order.
Get over your bitterness, David.
Order. 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 Supplementary question, Metiria Turei.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does it concern the Prime Minister that one of the 3 indicators in the report where New Zealand children are doing worse is food supply? That is, even more New Zealand families report not having enough money from payday to payday to provide enough food for them and their children.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, again, what I think you can take from the report is that the number of children living in poverty in New Zealand is reducing under this government. Secondly, if you go and look, Mr Speaker, at the countries that had the biggest increases in child poverty over the measurement of the report, they were countries like Iceland, Greece, Ireland, Spain and Italy. Countries that follow the kinds of economic plans proposed by the Greens, which is to spend a lot, to tax a lot, and pretend actually that a strong economy isn't the solution to helping youngsters out of poverty. This government is working on a very extensive program, and it has over time, and actually I think overall our record, given the circumstances we inherited from the poor economic management of the previous Labor government, has been quite strong.
Supplementary question, Metiria Turei.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Will the Prime Minister adopt child poverty reduction targets, given one of UNICEF's top 3 recommendations is for the New Zealand Government to implement better data on child poverty, because how can you possibly manage what you don't measure?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, if the member's logic is correct, then we should just ignore the UNICEF report, because it says it doesn't have good information to measure these things.
Order. Question number 5, Dr. Parmjeet Parmar.
Thank you, Mr